How good is it to have A-League football finally back? Round one was a whole lot of fun, and we certainly learnt a lot from the opening weekend of the A-League Men's 2025-26 season. We're going to chat about it all right here, right now, and we'd love for you to join the conversation. What did you make of the round one games? What do you make of your team's performance? Are you happy with what you saw on the opening weekend of this season? Adelaide United 2, Sydney FC 1, Brisbane Roar 1, Macarthur FC 0. First win there for Michael Valkanis in the A-League with Brisbane. Western Sydney Wanderers a 1-1 draw with Melbourne City. A scoreless draw between Victory and Auckland FC. Perth Glory 2, Wellington Phoenix 2. Glory letting a 2-goal lead slip in that game. And then a remarkable, incredible F3 derby to finish off the round. A 3-2 win for Central Coast Mariners. My full review for that game is over on the Coast Watch Football YouTube channel, Mariners dedicated channel, so feel free to check that out afterwards if you would like as well. So we're going to dive into a few of the games here. First of all, talking about that first game, 2-1 win for Adelaide over Sydney FC. And I think the big headline coming out of this game is the pressure that is now already mounting on Sydney FC head coach Ufuk Talay after this result. We know that there was already pressure on him heading into this season. Sydney FC missing out on finals last season, which was a huge disappointment for that club. And if the Sky Blues, we know if they don't get the results early on in this campaign, even in the first few weeks, there'll be serious questions asked of Ufuk Talay heading into this campaign. So for the Sky Blues, looking at the lineups here from Google, I mean, a lot of new signings featuring from them. Piero Quispe and Campuzano starting up top. Marcel Tisserand made his A-League debut at the back as well. Thought Joe Lolly was probably their most threatening player going forward. And even Ryan Grant was actually taking up some really good positions in the front third as well, even coming inside to add an extra body in midfield also. And for Adelaide United, new goalkeeper Joshua Smits was there. Of course, Craig Goodwin was back. But overall, quite a familiar team there for the Reds. And Adelaide United, I mean, I think a lot of us aren't really necessarily expecting anything incredible from them this season. I predicted them to finish, towards the bottom of the ladder. And they are showing us that they do indeed have talented players and they are capable of maybe defeating anyone on their day. And I think we still feel that way. I still feel that way, at least, at Cooper Stadium, on a Friday night, with over 10,000 fans in that ground. They really can beat anyone, especially with Craig Goodwin there, who was good in this game. I thought Yaya DeCooley was great off that left wing. He was looking really, really dangerous. And Ethan Alagich, I mean, a great goal for him. He's one of these midfield players who he's got a decent amount of A-League experience now. He was playing very regularly last season, and he could set to sort of take his game to another level this time around. Defensively, they were good as well. The Reds, Sydney FC, getting that late goal through Joe Lolly, but the 2 goals enough to get the win there for Adelaide United. And Sydney FC, they got to turn it around, and they got Mariners at home next week. And I'll tell you what, if they go even up to the international break in November, the first few rounds of the season, if they haven't got a win by then, I mean, there could be serious pressure on Ufuk Talay. He could be one of the first managers set to depart his role this season if the results don't turn their way. Next up, on Friday as well, we had that 1-0 win for Brisbane Roar over Macarthur. So I thought the Roar were good in this game, man. They were good. They got that penalty through Jay O'Shea and such a new-look team as well, the likes of Houston Salas, James McGarry, Georgios Vrakis as well, Dimitri Valkanis at the back, Chris Long in attack. It really was a fresh vibe at Brisbane Roar under new head coach Michael Valkanis. Got that penalty goal in the first half there. Correct call, clear handball from Luke Bratton there. And then in that second half, that red card, and they had to do so much defending. But Macarthur SC, just a bit toothless in attack, which is maybe a bit surprising. We saw them pick up a 3-0 win in the Asian Champions League 2 a couple of weeks ago. In this game, if you look at the stats, 15 shots total for Macarthur SC on goal and only 1 on target. That's seriously concerning there for Macarthur FC at the end there. They were whipping in crosses, trying to sort of get something happening, but ultimately they just didn't have enough to break through that stubborn Brisbane Roar defense. And credit to Brisbane, who really dug deep at the back there. It's a big win to kick off their campaign. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Melbourne City 1. Overall, a match I thought that both teams weren't quite at their best. They were quite evenly matched, and you look at the stats, it was quite even. Melbourne City having a lot of possession as well and a lot of territory in that second half. They look like the stronger side in that second period, and you thought maybe they were going to snatch it there late on. But a 1-1 draw probably feels like a fair result in the end. Costa Barbarousse scoring on his A-League debut for Wanderers. Max Caputo opens his account for the season as well. Melbourne Victory 0, Auckland FC 0, scoreless draw. And of course, this was a highly anticipated game because of that semi-final tie from last season, where Melbourne Victory lost at home. Auckland FC got the win at Amy Park in Leg 1, and then Melbourne Victory went over to Auckland, got the win over there to get through to the grand final. But a 0-0 draw, and it was, I think, the same thing that we have seen, from Auckland FC since they've come into their existence. Their strength in defence, and they showed us that in this game as well. Jake Goodwood-Reich was the new guy in that back line there for Auckland, and he was very, very good. He looked comfortable in defence for Auckland FC. Ultimately, in attack, they had some great opportunities. Jesse Randall in that first half really should have scored, but not quite enough to break through Melbourne Victory. And for Victory, they maybe didn't create enough to break through Auckland FC. And if anything, I think Victory will probably be most disappointed with this result, obviously being the home team. And the fact that they weren't able to create any quality opportunities really in that second half. Auckland FC were a little bit comfortable, I thought, late on in the game. I was really expecting a real push from Melbourne Victory here, but a scoreless draw to open up the round. Denny Jeanreau made his debut for Melbourne Victory. Juan Mata as well came off the bench. Xavier Stella started the game as well and looked good in midfield also. So Melbourne Victory, they were missing a lot of players as well for this game. The likes of Roderick Miranda was out for this match. So Victory, curious to see how they go early on this season. A 0-0 draw, it isn't a bad result to start the season, that's for sure as well. And then the late game on Saturday, Perth Glory 2, Wellington Phoenix 2. Glory looked good. Again, sort of a new look Glory side with the likes of Kautak, Wooten coming in, Kaczarski was starting, and it was a great start for Perth Glory. 2 goals in that first half. And you're like, oh my gosh, is this the Glory side that we've been waiting for that are finally going to be really competitive this season? And I think they will be, competitive this season, but it was a bit concerning how they did drop away there in that second half, conceding 2 goals. Wellington Phoenix coming back. Great goal from Eze. This is a player who I watched in the preseason friendly between Mariners and Wellington last week. I watched Afinia Eze and he scored 2 goals in that game, and a really nicely taken goal in this game as well. He's a player who could really step up as a star attacking player in the A-League this season. With the way that he took that goal, it was really, really nice. Carlo Almiento scoring for Wellington against his former side, Perth Glory, here as well. 2-2 draw. And then Central Coast Mariners 3, Newcastle Jets 2. What a result for the Mariners. A huge, huge win here for the Central Coast over rivals Newcastle Jets. And again, I think we're all, even myself being a Mariners fan, we all were anticipating Newcastle Jets to come in and be strong here and probably get the win in this opening round game. The Jets winning the Australia Cup recently. Central Coast Mariners losing head coach Mark Jackson just over a week before this game. Warren Moon, the interim, had literally had been in charge, had come in for a couple days on the coast and then was in charge of this game. And Mariners get the win, and in the most incredible fashion. What a finish to this game, man. Dude, as a Mariners fan, it's just absolutely insane, that finish. Andrew Redmayne with the save and Nico Duarte finishing off there as well. And Central Coast Mariners, looking at the lineup here from Google, it was overall quite a similar lineup to what we saw from last season. Great to see Brad Tapp back from injury. So Newell was starting on that right wing, back from his loan spell at Heidelberg United. But overall for Central Coast Mariners, it's players who have been there for maybe the last year or two now. And they had some great performances, I thought, from McCalmont, DiPizio, very, very good. Both those guys getting on the score sheet as well. And Newcastle Jets, look, they had a good lineup overall. A lot of those guys who were starting in that Australia Cup victory, the Australia Cup final victory just a few weeks ago. Bartolado was back in there. Burgess in midfield as well. Tom Aquilina working hard from right back also. But ultimately not able to get a result here away in the F3 derby. So it'll be curious to see whether Newcastle Jets do bounce back. A tough game at home against Melbourne Victory on Friday evening. But an incredible result there for the Central Coast Mariners, man. Again, check out my full review for that one over on the Coast Watch Football YouTube channel. But this was an interesting round one. There were some teams who, we learnt a lot, but also there was, especially with those draws on Saturday, some teams who maybe we still have to see a little bit more from. So round 2, round 3, we've got a few weeks in this A-League season until the first international break in November. So, really curious to see how this initial block of games pans out for these teams. But again, drop your thoughts in the comments section. What did you make of round 1? What did you learn from this weekend? And how are you feeling about your team after round 1? Are you happy with how things are trending? Are you a little bit worried starting off this season. Some big results, that's for sure. And make sure you are subscribed here to Oswald Football. We'll be doing plenty of A-League content throughout the season. Got our predictions video coming out during the week as well. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. My name's Lockie. See you in the next one.